look for ways to say yes, not ways to say no. Because I think in corrections, it's easy to say no. And you can say security. We can't do that because of security. And honestly, there's a lot of things we can't do because of security.
Sure.
But I always wanted to challenge my staff to figure out a way to make things happen and still maintain security.
Yep.
And then the other thing that I would say, and I said this every single day, if I interviewed you, you heard it. I mean, it's just so funny. But I said, we are in the business of saving lives.
I am a man of honor, integrity, and promise. I pursue all righteousness. I love my family. I will not put my family in harm's way. There is nothing that will keep me from doing the right thing. I am an ambassador of hope and a man of discipline. I am a man worth following. I am a TYRO.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to TYRO TV. I'm Ron Tijerina.
And I'm Cathy Tijerina.
And today we have a wonderful guest with us like no other. Right?
We have been in this work for a very long time with our guest. She is a powerhouse. She is a change agent. She brings transformation everywhere she goes and is hyper passionate about restoration of families.
And you know, one of the great things I like about Miss Roni Burkes is that she holds us accountable. Our relationship is not based just on professionalism and work and stuff like that, but to help each other become better and stronger. And that's what I really like about you, Roni. You've held me, you know, you've met me when I first came home. You've been part of our journey, but you've held me to the line, right? Stay accountable.
This is why I love her. I don't just like her. It takes a whole state to manage this guy.
So you see, I looked at Cathy.
Join us in welcoming Mrs. Roni Burkes-Trowsdell from Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections.
Thank you, Cathy. Thank you. My husband would love the fact that you said Trowsdell and said it right.
So, Roni, tell us, what is your title and how long you've been with Ohio Department of Corrections?
So my title, I have actually the pleasure of serving as the Deputy Director in the Office of Reentry for the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Correction.
Rehabilitation.
Yes. And I have been with our agency in about 3 weeks, it'll be 25 years.
Wow.
25 years, yes.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That is awesome.
It is. It's been a wonderful, wonderful career with ODRC, and I'm just very appreciative of the opportunities that I've been given to really work in my passion.
Yeah, I love the fact that you actually affect the environment instead of allowing it to infect you. Sometimes we meet people in corrections for 25 years or maybe even 5 years, and they're just a little, just kind of bitter and angry.
Yes.
Yep.
And there's none of that. You walk around with purpose, with passion, with joy, and and
a smile on your face. And as Cathy's saying that, and you actually are a change agent to help people understand their potential, despite their story, despite what they're going through. There's life at the end of this experience. And one of the things that I love about you and what you bring to the table, no excuses.
Yeah.
No excuses. And I've heard you say that a lot to people where, okay, these are the cards that are on the table. Now, how are you going to play them?
That's right. That's right. Yeah. That's important because what we know is this. The folks that we serve every single day, their journeys are not easy. Right. Everybody's journey is different. No one has the same reentry journey. Everybody's journey is different. However, you have to be prepared to work within the confines of what you have, the things that you have. Some people will go home with a house, with a place to live. Well, I know people who've gone home to their own home, a home that they own. But some people will go home to a place to live. Some people won't. Some people will go home with a job. Some people won't. Yeah. So everybody's journey is different. And so you do, Ron, you're 100% right. You have to work with the cards that are dealt to you. And there's a way to do it. And you don't have to do it alone.
Right.
That's the thing I think is like really under the misunderstanding in our state and across this nation is there are folks out there like TYRO, like the Ridge Project, like the Office of Reentry, and many of our other reentry coalitions and agencies across the state and across the nation that will help you. So if you want to do it alone, that's fine. but understand the resources that are available to you. But if you don't want to walk this journey alone, we have a bunch of people who will be out there to walk it with you.
I love that.
Yeah.
You don't have to do it alone.
That's right.
And something that Ron says all the time is success is never a one-man show.
That's right.
And so struggling and just working within the constraints of just what you know, I mean, that's a hard journey.
Mm-hmm.
That's a hard journey. So I have to ask, because, we say, you have all this passion, all this purpose, all this joy. Why corrections? What made you decide to go into corrections those 25 years ago?
My gosh. So I don't even know. I can tell you this. I started off with ODRC as a volunteer.
Really?
So yes, I
Wow.
was in Cleveland working at the Cleveland Rape Crisis Center. I had promoted to associate director, had just promoted to associate director, and was spending my days really working in this grassroots feminist agency. You could see us on the picket lines with signs telling judges when they made horrible decisions. I mean,
Wow.
it was fun, and it was
So you were an
lively.
activist.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I was.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You might see me in the courtroom at the Cuyahoga County courthouse, sitting on the floor in a corner with a kid who has to go testify about a sexual assault and drawing with them. So I just really had all this passion, and I'm working in this field, and I remember seeing a flyer about a volunteer opportunity with ODRC through the Office of Victim Services, and that's how I started. So I started off as a
Really?
volunteer. 3 or 4 years later, was offered an opportunity to interview for a position. Came into the position as a victim advocate. I coordinated the Victim Offender Dialogue Program and the Victim Awareness Program for the state.
Really?
And then just started promoting through the agency. So that's really how I guess I never thought about I'm going to work for corrections.
Mm-hmm.
I just always thought I'm going to help people.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so I didn't care what that looked like at the time. It didn't matter to me. It was just about helping people.
So let me ask you this, because all your journey, I mean, a lot of people would become, what's the word I'm looking for? When you're
Disillusioned.
disillusioned, yeah, because you're dealing with humanity at its worst a lot of
Yes.
times, right?
Yes.
And then you put a lot of hope in people only to be let down, right? So how do you
Well, not always let down.
not
I
let
would
down,
say
but
that. Yeah,
but you've dealt with
sometimes,
that,
yeah.
and you've dealt with the highs and the lows, right? How do you manage to continue to be your best cheerleader?
Well, let me say this. I think some of that has to do with the fact that I am, I'm a Christian.
Okay.
I love God. I believe in God. I serve because of him.
Oh, good.
I
All
really
right.
believe, and I believe this for all of us,
Yeah.
whether you believe it, I believe you all believe it, but whether
Yeah.
other people out there believe it or not, that we were all put on this earth to serve.
Mm-hmm.
That's what God put us here for.
Amen.
And so we just have to find out, like, in what capacity we're supposed to serve. And some people haven't found that, and maybe that's why they're a little bit bitter or upset or things like that. And some people don't even realize that they are put here to serve. But when you serve and you really truly serve others, you get so much in return.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And so I think that has a lot to do with it. And I grew up in a very positive environment. I grew up, I'm fortunate. I understand the privileges that I had. I grew up in a 2-parent home. My parents were very loving toward each other. My dad would often call my mom his girlfriend. It would be just so cute. At the time, when I was younger, it grossed me out. But as I got older, and now that I'm married, I respect it. I'm like,
Right.
hey, I'm your girlfriend.
That's
That's right.
So I grew up in a very loving home, and my mother, I can remember and just hear her voice as a young girl. Be kind. Treat people with kindness. She would say, I would tell her about kids at school that were being picked on, and she would say, be their friend anyways. Like it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my mother's home was that safe haven where my friends would come.
Yeah.
And my mother's home was a place, and my mother's home, but probably more than anything, my mother's arms were a place where my friends could come and get comfort. And that followed me all through life. Even in college, my mother will say, she brought everybody home. If you lived in
That's
another
awesome.
country and you could not go home for the holidays, you were coming to eat at our house because my mother would always have a plate ready for anybody.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so I think all of that, my mom, my dad, the values they instilled in me. And I just decided that in my life, I want to be happy. Like, there's nothing greater than happiness and joy and love
Yeah.
and peace.
Yeah.
They all do really.
Yeah.
And so people say, like, you seem to be happy all the time. Really, I am.
Yeah.
Most of
That's
the time.
wonderful.
Now, that doesn't mean that I won't get with you if I have to.
Right.
I'll get with you.
Oh, yeah.
And then I'll fuss at you and say what I need to say, and then I'm done. And I'm like, and I love
Yep.
you.
Yeah.
I love you.
Yep. But
I
I've been at the end of
love
that.
I am the same way. Life is not worth carrying stuff. It's
No.
like, here it all is on the table and do with it as you will.
That's
I'm
right.
done with it. Like
That's right.
I've said all I need to say. Now let's move on.
I don't need to hold a grudge. And my
Nope.
mother always
Nope.
used to say
That's
that
awesome.
she didn't want us to be the kids that other people didn't want to see coming. And we all know
Oh,
that. You
wow.
all know those bad kids, and you're kind of like, oh, here they come. Here she come with her kids. My mom used to say, be kind.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't think that's asking a lot
No.
to just
Yeah.
be kind to people.
Well, that's
Yeah.
awesome. I'm Ron Tijerina,
And I'm Cathy Tijerina.
and together we have been working with tens of thousands of couples for the last 2 decades.
And we have been helping couples understand that nobody's right and nobody's wrong. They're just each seeing it from their own perspective and unable to bridge together.
So when's the last time you were in a discussion with your significant other or your spouse and you had a disagreement over something so small that turned into something so big?
So many of the couples we work with have this experience where they argue about something because they only see it from their own perspective.
So I'm looking at it from my vantage point, and guess what? Frankly, I'm only want to see it my way, because it's my way or the what? The highway.
Over time, what happens is these issues start to pile up and they create more and more distance between couples. And so now we're arguing about every small thing because we have to defend our perspective.
As we began arguing, it really was apparent whose side I was on. I wasn't on her side and she wasn't on my side. In fact, we were on opposite teams.
We became enemies, and what was more important for us was to be right than for us to actually understand each other. When couples do this, they continue to erode their relationship. What you need to do is get the issues out from between you, move them out in front of you, and remember that you're a team able to navigate through anything together by seeing all sides of the issue.
Now remember, there is nothing more important than us.
In this dynamic program that's internationally recognized, you're going to learn how to resolve conflict, how to get on the same page and listen for understanding. Couple communication, which was written by Dr. Sherrod Miller and Dr. Phyllis Miller, will actually help you be on the same team and recognize the power of resolving conflict together.
One of the greatest tools that you're going to embrace is really coming to the understanding that what you've been doing is natural, but this is learned behavior, and we're about ready to take you to a next level on how to enhance your relationship.
Now, if you're sick and tired of having all of these petty issues come between you, if you are exhausted from every time that you have interaction with your spouse, it turns into drama, then this is where you want to be. You want to sign up for couple communication. You want to take this program together, and I guarantee you that you are going to love it.
Stop telling yourself that tomorrow you're going to do better. Stop saying to yourself, tomorrow I'll find that program. Today's your opportunity to do something not only for yourself, but for all those around you.
In couple communication, you're going to learn a brand new process. This process is going to help you avoid ever fighting over petty stuff again. It's going to take you to a new level in your relationship as you learn how to listen for understanding, to clearly articulate and share from your own experience. You're going to get on the mats. You're going to have notepads. You're going to learn skills that you're going to be like, wow, if only I had known this at the beginning.
It's not too late. We are all on this journey. We are all on this continuous improvement plan. But guess what? You have to take the first step and let today be that first step for you and your significant other.
If you're ready to like each other again and be on the same team, this is the program for you. Sign up today.
Roni, you 25 years and you're in the Office of Reentry.
Yes.
But what does that mean? What does that mean?
I love it when folks ask me what that means, because I love it because I work with a dynamic group of people. So my team and I work really hard to ensure that men and women who are transitioning from incarceration are successful. And so that can look so many different ways, but we are what we call, and I love it because Dr. Roxanne Coy, my assistant deputy director, she always says we're connectors. We connect people to the services and resources that they need. And again, earlier when we talked about everybody's needs are different, everybody's reentry journey is different.
Yeah.
So what I need may be different than what you need. And so we ensure that we are connecting. So one of the major things that I think we do, and we do very well in this state, is we build relationships.
Yes.
It is so important that that our team has relationships across this entire state because we don't know where people are going. And even across this country, we've been able to build relationships. I can have people in other states that I can call who are in the reentry space that can tell me this is who you can connect them to. I know that anytime I have something happening in this area or I have somebody in this area that needs services, I know I'm going to call you.
Yeah.
I can pick up the phone and call you just like you can call me. And so relationship building is so important. But we make sure that the men and women we work with understand there are resources out there, there are people out there, and we are here to help. And so we don't turn people away. I loved it. Last week I heard one of my team members, Drew Case, and he said, we don't turn people away. You know, we don't care if you're coming from county jail. I understand who I work for.
Right.
I work for the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Correction. But if you're coming from the county jail, I also work for God.
Yeah.
And God says, don't turn people away.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so how can we help
right.
you? We don't say you came from jail, we can't help you. No.
Yep.
We figure out how we can help you.
Yeah.
And so we're here to
And
serve.
those connections.
And so
I love that.
We do. We're connectors. We do some direct services, some trainings and things like that.
Yeah.
We're busy in the community. I'm excited about the possibility not the possibility that we're hosting a family forum here because we believe in connecting families. But our goal every day is that we ensure that men and women are connected to resources and they're successful. Successful reintegration is our goal every day.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
And you are at the forefront of so many innovative things. I remember the first time I met you, I think you were a warden at a women's institution.
Yes.
And you were showing us and sharing all of these like crazy. And I was like, this is happening? You're like, oh, yeah, this is happening. And I remember you saying, well, there's a will, there's a way.
That's right.
Because I was like, how did you get this going? And I thought, that is so true. When you focus in on the things that you say, you know what, this needs to change. I know this about you over these years, that you are a force to be reckoned with for good, an advocate that people can count on. Like, just because somebody else is not sitting at the table, their voice is also not heard. You make sure that you take that voice and you say, listen, I've been in the community. I've seen this going on. This needs to change. And so can you talk a little bit about your journey from, let's start with from warden to where you are now.
Absolutely.
And some of the passionate things that you have been at the forefront of implementing, because I know there's a lot. So just pick 2 or 3.
So I will tell you, when I started as the warden at the Ohio Reformatory for Women, it certainly, everybody says, is that your favorite job in DRC? And honestly, as much as I loved being there, I love what I do now because I feel like I can stay connected to people. And that's so important to me, to be able to follow up and stay connected with people. But when I started as the warden, I had worked for a warden, Janine Trim, who was, to me, very open-minded and innovative in a sense. And she would always say to me, okay, Roni Burkes, as long as nobody gets hurt, nobody escapes, nobody, all these things that are important security stuff. She'd say, go ahead and do it. Because I had all these ideas. And I think there's some benefit to the fact that I did not come up in corrections. I didn't start as a correction officer and work my way up security. While there's a lot of benefit to that, in this capacity, the type of warden that I wanted to be, I think there's a benefit to that. So I had several philosophies that were extremely important to me, and I said them all the time, and people repeat them to me now all the time. It's so funny. And one is look for ways to say yes, not ways to say no. Because I think in corrections, it's easy to say no. And you can say security. We can't do that because of security. And honestly, there's a lot of things we can't do because of security.
Sure.
But I always wanted to challenge my staff to figure out a way to make things happen and still maintain security.
Yep.
And then the other thing that I would say, and I said this every single day, if I interviewed you, you heard it. I mean, it's just so funny. But I said, we are in the business of saving lives. And so when I think about that, and I think about the mission and vision of our agency and even our core values today, that's what fuels me and keeps me going. I am here. What can I do to save your life? And I remember there were times when people would get in trouble at work, and some of our team members in the prison, and I would say, tell me how this helped save a life. And then maybe I will think differently about this potential discipline.
Right.
But if you can't tell me how this helped save a life, then I'm going to have to discipline you.
Right.
Yeah. And so I also, and probably one of the most important things to me is that I believed that the staff have a right to come to work every day, be safe at work, and go home safely to their families every day.
Right. Yes.
No exceptions.
Yeah.
But equal to that, and this is the part that would get people, the women had a right to live in that environment, be safe every day, and when it was their time, go home safely to their families. And I could not have one group feeling safe and the other group not. If you have the staff who don't feel safe at work, but the women feel safe there, the staff are not going to do the job you pay them to do because they're worried about their safety.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And on the flip side, if the women were there and they didn't feel safe, but the staff felt safe, the women are not going to do what they need to do to be successful and go home.
Right.
So you had to have a balance.
Oh, I like
and that's
that.
what I think people don't understand is that you need that balance because our goal, most people in our system are not going to be there for the rest of their lives.
Right.
So let's do what we need for them to do to be safe. So to get to some of the innovative things that I did, and here's the thing. I get a lot of credit for the things that occurred at ORW, but it would not have been done without that phenomenal staff there and the women.
Yep.
Because I used to say to the women, now look, we're going to do this, but I need you to do your part. We're going to take you to the Ohio Theater and you're going to perform on the stage on a Thursday night in front of 7,000 people. But you're going to act right while you're there. Because they're not going to let us take you out ever again. So I need you to, if you want
to do this.
Yes. We got to, and it was a team effort and really is.
That's great.
I got a lot of credit for it. I think one of the most innovative things, and it really started, the initial meeting started under Ward and Trim with David Brown and the Harmony Project. Just that incredible partnership where, she said, okay, well, we'll allow Harmony Project to come in and potentially start this program. And then she ended up leaving and it started under me. But I was a part of it from the beginning. And to just watch the growth, to see the Harmony Project come in initially to shoot a documentary called One Family, One Something Columbus. I can't remember the exact name. But to see this documentary being shot where we were bringing people into the facility who were going to sit down and have dinner, have community with our women, and have discussions about humanity and discussions about life and discussions about what divides us so that it no longer divides us, so that we could understand each other and have a better understanding of who we are. To have them see the women that I saw them, and have the women see the community the way I do, and that this is a community that there are people out there who will welcome you back. And so that started off as a documentary. It grew into this amazing inside choir who, to be in the Harmony Project, you don't have to know how to sing. You have to be willing to serve.
Wow.
And so we have the Tapestry community as a choir, and they served in the capacity they could from the facility, which was they would do community service projects, but they would also sing to the children in Bloemfontein, South Africa, who were part of the Sunflower House, which is a hospice place there for children who oftentimes would have diseases that they may not necessarily die from here, but because of the conditions there and the opportunities, access to healthcare and stuff like that, they would.
Wow.
So the women would sing to them and the children would sing back to us. And that was one of the ways they gave back. But then to be a part of this larger community of people in the city, and I think at that time, maybe Harmony Project was around 400 people or so. And now I think it's almost up to 700. But to be a part of that community, and that community welcoming our women back to the greater community outside the fence.
That's awesome.
Pretty tremendous. And that has grown. I mean, now I was just there a few weeks ago for the festival. And if you've never been to the festival, you have to
We've
come.
never been to the festival.
It is incredible where they bring the men from Madison, the men from Pickaway, because we now have Harmony Project choirs there.
Really?
I didn't know that.
And they actually come to ORW and they sing with the women. And we do. It's a huge production, hundreds of people. And it is a day of music. It's really a day of men and women forgetting where they are and recognizing the humanity in themselves and others.
Wow.
It's
That's
where
powerful.
it doesn't matter what color shirt you have on, that we're people. And that we love and we care and we're similar. You know? So that, I think Harmony Project, and we've done a lot with Harmony, so I could go on and on. I think that was something huge that we've done at ORW. We've done so much. I think what set me a little bit apart from folks is that willingness to say yes
Mm-hmm.
and looking at things differently. One of the things our assistant director always would talk to me about, he respected, was the day that I went to my warden and said, I would like for us to implement a policy on profanity.
Wow.
I said, I understand in this environment that it
Yeah.
seems to be pretty normal,
Yeah.
but I didn't grow up in a home where people
Right.
use profanity, that
Wow.
they would use it with you.
Yeah.
And I know how it feels also when people
Mhm.
did use it with me, how it made me feel. So I can't
Sure.
imagine that anybody else feels good about it.
Yeah.
And so I encouraged the warden. I had visited a prison in Louisiana. I went to Louisiana State Prison.
Okay.
And the warden at the time was Burl Kane, who's
Yes.
a legend.
Mhm.
Yes.
And I remember walking around the prison with Warden Kane, and I said, to him, I was just impressed with just how they talk to each other there.
Yeah.
And especially in his presence and the presence of his team, the respect that we were shown by the men there. And then I just really also respected how he had like a bunch of churches on his ground. And I was like, is
Yeah.
that another church?
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I remember Warden Kane saying to me, and I'll give you this description. He said, Ronnie, he said, if the man has a Bible in his hand and he's praising God with his hand, he's not hurting you, harming you, thinking of
Oh.
ways to do things
Yep.
to you. He said, life is really simple.
Mm.
He said, and you have to engage people and give people something to do.
Mhm.
And he said, and here it's the Lord. And so they have
Yeah.
like 6 or
I love
7
it.
churches
Yeah.
on the
Yep.
ground.
Yep.
Yeah.
And everybody was really, a lot of people were engaged in religion. And so he said, we have to really teach people how to be engaged, and we have to encourage them and give them things to do. And so when I went back, I said to the warden, I said, if at the Louisiana State Prison, where they had at that time, I think over 7,000 people incarcerated,
Mm-hmm.
and most of them never going home,
Mhm.
Right.
if they can implement a memo or a policy on no profanity,
Mhm.
we can surely do it
Yeah,
at the Ohio
yeah.
Reformatory for Women, where we can teach people respect
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
and create a culture
Yes.
where it's not acceptable.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
So
Yeah.
a culture where you're walking across the yard and you hear somebody use something profane and you just keep walking because it's no big deal.
Right.
But you stop and you address it and you talk about how can we
Mhm.
have the same conversation, because your emotions are,
Yeah.
I validate your emotions, you're upset.
Right. Yep.
But how can you and I have
Yeah.
this same conversation where it's not profane,
Yeah.
Yep.
you're not diminishing or demeaning people,
Yeah.
but you're really treating them with dignity and respect.
And,
Yeah,
and I'm
that's
gonna interrupt. Just in today's society, you see that's becoming something of a norm, even with the politicians,
Oh,
with
yeah.
the TV. You're just turning regular. And I said, oh my gosh.
It's so vexing.
Yeah.
I agree with you. It's like, it's the violence language.
It
It's
is.
disrespect.
Well, David, Mike Davis, he said it, and I stole it from him. I say it all the time. The language of violence
Yeah.
is what he called it. And I said, oh, I love
right.
that.
Yeah.
And it is, with our clients and the people that become tyros, they owe push-ups. If they drop the F-bomb, if they say any type
Any
of
profanity,
any
yeah.
profanity, hey, you owe me 25 push-ups. And these guys, they'll drop down and give us 25
That's
push-ups.
right.
It's creating a new habit,
That's right.
right?
I'm your coach, Tremaine Hall. We're looking forward to getting you to the next level in where you want to be in fitness. Our whole method is to make you mentally tough and also physically strong. We're going to start with dynamic warm-up, lower core, upper body, and also full body blast. Get ready to take your fitness to the next level with TYRO Fit and Stenos.
So we are getting down. I cannot even believe it, to our last 5 minutes. And I want to make sure that we have plenty of time. We've asked you questions about things that we were curious about. I want to make sure we give you time to just share whatever's on your heart.
And before you do
Anything.
that, I do want to say one thing. I don't mean to interrupt you. We are proud of you.
Oh,
We
yeah.
are very proud of
that
you.
That means a lot.
Yeah,
I
we're
mean-
proud to be in Ohio, proud to
Yeah.
to know you. Yes.
And you have really, you the bar's set high in your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we appreciate the bar set high, and we appreciate this journey together, because it's iron sharpening iron, and you have done a wonderful job. And Cathy and I are really, really pleased to be walking with you
Thank you.
on this journey.
Yeah.
Thank you. My mother would be proud if she heard that. So thank you. That really means a lot. It's easier when you have leadership that believes in you. And, we have a phenomenal director.
Yep.
I love our director, Annette Chambers-Smith, and how supportive she is of reentry. And, she takes every opportunity she can to ensure that we have the things that we need to do the work that we need to do. She's so supportive, and she's such a busy person, but it's incredible how she gets it. So that helps certainly with the work that we do. But thank you. That's very kind of you. Very kind.
Absolutely.
So what do you want people to know? Out of all of the things that because you're a wealth of knowledge, and I keep saying it over and over, and passion, because you really are honestly passionate about saving lives. And so you saying that is not just words. We have watched it over and over again. So of all the people that are watching, so mostly inside institutions, but also their family members on the outside that watch us on YouTube, what do you want them to know?
And if you just look into that camera right there.
Say whatever you want to say.
Say what do you want to say?
I want folks to know the folks that we serve. So the people who are inside of our facilities to know that the Office of Reentry is here to help. There's just so many opportunities out there for you to be successful. We don't want people trying to do things on their own if they can't. And we understand that some people have more resources than others, but our office is really here to help you. And so I want you to keep in mind this. You can, if you are inside of one of our correctional facilities in Ohio, you can reach the Office of Reentry through the KITE system. You can look for reentry coordinators. And if you KITE us and talk specific about your needs. I usually tell people, tell us about your top 3 to 5 needs and be very specific. I need housing. I need a job. I need help with transportation. Whatever that need is, be very specific and then indicate what your interests are, because we don't want to make decisions for you. We want you to be involved and actively engaged in that. And our reentry coordinators will respond. I know people say, well, they don't respond talking about staff regarding kites. I will tell you that our reentry coordinators do respond. And if there's a message that needs to get to me, they will get it to me as well. The other thing that I want you to know that there are resources out there on relink.com, relink.org. relink.org. And so you have access to relink.org on your tablet. So while you're preparing for your release, when you're doing your release planning and your release preparing, get on your tablet and get on relink.org and be actively engaged in your reentry. Look for housing partners that you're interested in. We can get you the additional information, but look for housing partners. Look for reentry partners. You can find them. You can search by zip code. You can search by city. You can search by resource. The resource will tell you if they serve men or women, if they serve families, if they're faith-based. It'll tell you all of that. And you can look on there and see all of our ODRC endorsed or certified reentry coalitions, which are agencies that we work with every single day. And then to your families, people often think that their families are kind of just left without any assistance, and that's not true. We work with families every day. We have a family advisory council that advises our agency, and I will tell you that they are very truthful. Oftentimes telling us stuff we don't want to hear, but we know we need to hear it. So understand that. But also, we've been in the community doing these family forums. Encourage your families to attend. We just had one in Cincinnati with over 30 families, and those families came because their loved ones, like you, told them to come. And at those family forums, not only do we talk about your release and we talk about reentry and what it looks like, we have the APA share about parole and supervision and all those things. But we also have resources in the community that are there for your families. So your families don't have to struggle through this time, because family engagement and family unity, to unify families is our goal as well. Healthy families. That's our goal too. And then lastly, I would tell you is that you don't have to walk this alone. You don't have to do this reentry alone. We have your librarians and your institutions have what we call the reentry envelope, and it gives you step-by-step based on your time frame of what you need to get done prior to release. So we're excited about that too. You can get those from your librarians at every prison. Just ask for the reentry envelope, and my team and there are folks in the facilities that can help walk you through that process. The last couple of things I will remind you of is that we are now helping people get birth certificates. So you don't have to worry about coming home without one. If you give us enough time and you work with your unit staff, we can actually get your birth certificate as long as you were born in the state of Ohio. We can give you resources to get it if you were born outside the state. We are also running a pilot program at Lebanon Correctional Institution and Pickaway Correctional Institution, where we can get a reinstatement of your Social Security card or a reissued Social Security card. And this is all for free. This is all for free. And then the last thing is we're working on finalizing a project with public safety and the BMVs. And our goal is that you leave with your state ID too. So we know how important those documents are for you to go home. And that is what we're here to do, to help you so that when you transition home, you have everything you need to be successful. So that's what I would say to you. And please reach out to our office, ODRC Office of Reentry.
Awesome. That's wonderful, Roni. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I feel like we could probably do 5 or 6 episodes with you and talk about different things concerning reentry.
Yes.
So will you come back?
I will absolutely come back. And I will say, I just want to say this to you two, that I'm just really honored to be here today. And I'm proud of the work that you all do. You all are fighters. And I love it, because you fight for what's right and you fight to serve people in the way that they deserve to be served. And so Rochelle Pride is the director in Franklin County. She is like the director of the Franklin County Office of Violence and Prevention, or I probably got that right, Office of Justice and Policy, and she holds a whole bunch of other titles. But she always says this. She says, how you see people is how you serve them. And so I appreciate how you all see people because it shows by how you serve them. So thank you for what you do as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Roni. It has been a pleasure.
This has been an amazing episode. I mean, thank you for sharing your heart and a little bit of your journey, because I wanted to actually get a little bit deeper into, okay, what was it like to transition into the interview to become a warden? Right? Because that's a big deal.
So next time we have Roni come, and hopefully we can get her back here not too long from now.
Absolutely.
We'll ask many more questions, but we want to take a moment and thank you. Thank you for joining us. And we hope that today you learned something that's going to help you on your journey towards reaching your goals and your dreams.
So until next time, always remember that we are rooting for you.